Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's that time of the week where we talk about all things X-Men, and we had a big slate of X-Men comics this week. Not really anything newsworthy to talk about anyway. So today we're going to be talking about X-Men number 11, Hellions number 3, and iWolverine number 2. And here with me, as always, to talk about X-Men is the Marvel historian, the X-Men aficionado. Doc, how you doing?
I'm actually doing really good this morning, man. Yourself?
I'm doing well. It was a pretty good week in X-Men, so I'm assuming you had a good time. I think we both skipped X Factor, so that was probably pretty smart.
Yeah, I come on, man. Leah Williams on a X-Men book again. That only ends in disaster.
Absolutely. So before we get into all the details, I do want to say, if you're here visiting or if you've been coming around but haven't subscribed, today is the day to subscribe to Thinking Critical YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this content. Let us know that you want more. Give us an enormous thumbs down and let us know why we're a couple of rubes in the comments section if you disagree with this. Either way, like I said, we would like to hear from you. Now, Doc, there's a pretty big week in X-Men, although I am tired of the Empyre tie-ins that are part of the Path to Ten of Swords. I find it annoying. I've been reading Empyre. I'm not terribly impressed, but I will say this. After this issue, not the one before, issue number 11, I would say Jonathan Hickman probably should have written Empyre. It would have been more interesting. He certainly took the enemy and the situation more seriously, and I think he executed it better.
I mean, I'm not reading the main Empyre book. I'm not reading any of the tie-ins. I'm intentionally trying to avoid this damn event because nothing about it appealed to me. The first issue, issue 10 was not very good. We talked about that last week or, a couple of weeks ago. This one was significantly better. Hickman did take it pretty seriously. As a tie-in, it was minimally invasive, I'd say, at least when it came to requiring you to know literally anything about the Empyre event. The entire book was about the Kotani or whatever they're called.
It's like a folk tale of Exodus is telling these children the tale of a hero of Krakoa, and it turns out it's Magneto, dons the old gear because he's heading into war as Krakoa is being attacked again, this time from the Katati from the moon, where Cyclops and the other X-Men are holding them off on the front lines, and Magneto decides to just take it to the tree people almost solo.
Yeah, basically he does. This was an issue that really kind of showcases Magneto's badassery, because sometimes we forget how much of a badass Magneto can be, how powerful he is, exactly how much shit he can fuck up. And he definitely messes some stuff up in this book. And it was really
he has a volcano erupts so he can use the lava as shards of metal to rip through the tree people.
Yeah, I mean, and it also kind of shows him as a great kind of battlefield commander. He had been planning this, in case of this situation for a while. I mean, at least we hear that he has. He asks Magma about something that we never knew about, but apparently he asked her about a long time ago with finding an underwater volcano that was not part of Krakoa, just in case. And then, having Iceman rapidly cool all the liquid iron. When you got the Master of Magnetism there, using a bunch of liquid metal, all you got to do is cool it off. You cool that off, and he can turn that into whatever he wants. I like the kind of callback that they did to the what was it, the second X-Men movie? He had the little like the little metal balls that he kept turning into weapons, like into basically little projectiles to shoot through the body. And earlier than this, he's like, okay, this is working, but it's not working at a big enough scale. Now, the only thing that really kind of I didn't quite get the way that, like, kind of the reverence that Iceman and Magma show to Magneto as a field leader. Because, I mean, come on, for how many decades he basically been their primary nemesis? Taking orders from the guy is still, whether or not you can get past it and be, cool with him, like living there and being best friends with your teacher and, get along with him is one thing, but taking orders from him in the field, that was the most kind of suspension of disbelief part. But at the same time, since it was being done kind of as a folk tale being told by Exodus, and, Exodus being Magneto's number one acolyte, he could have, let's just say, exaggerated how much the X-Men, primarily Magma and Iceman, deferred to, Magneto's leadership.
Definitely could be dealing with an unreliable narrator here. Another weird thing is when Exodus is talking to the children, and he drives home that we don't trust humans, that we have to take matters into our own hands. And he also, the children say that they're not scared because they know that they can come back, but he wants to drive home that just because dead people can be returned or dead mutants can be returned doesn't mean that we didn't lose them, and you have to remember this. So it's definitely the reverence that maybe all of mutants are showing Magneto, I find terrifying, just because of who he is.
And the thing is, we're not, with the way that they told the story, it was kind of cool because you're not entirely certain whether or not the kids that Magneto's Exodus is telling the story to are on the other island, like, because they were talking about moving everybody.
They're on the Atlantic island. That's where everyone was evacuated to.
Yes, we think that, but it also could be many decades in the future, and him teaching some of the the future hybrid children mutants. We don't know. Kind of ignore the fact that most of the X-Men stuff could be taking place at literally any time in the next 1,000 years. But no, it was good. It was interesting, and they did. I think it was a massive improvement from issue 1. I think the only thing missing was a even bigger display of Magneto's badassery.
Wow, took down the whole army.
Yeah, but he could have
spaceship.
Yeah, but he still could have. I don't know. I think that deserved a splash page instead of just 3 sequential panels.
Is there anything else you need to say about X-Men number 11 before we move on to
I go buy it. It's actually really good for being a Empyre tie-in.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Now, I enjoyed this next comic even more. It's Hellions number 3 from Zeb Wells and Steven Segovia. Steven Segovia is definitely elevating himself up to one of the top tier X-Men artists in all of Dawn of X with his work on Hellions. And this comic book, it's definitely my favorite one of the week as far as X-Men goes. And it's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, agreed. I think Hellions is quickly becoming my favorite X book. It feels the most like X-Men. This one was a nightmare, with all the team, captured by Madeline Pryor.
She erases Havoc's mouth, and he loves her so much he rips it open so he can kiss her.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was this one. There was a lot of kind of body horror in this issue. Especially with kind of, the zombie marauders and the way that they're attacking.
They're waiting to feed on the entire team. They're waiting for Madeline to give them the go to eat.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the last couple of issues kind of made John Greycrow into kind of the fan favorite. But this one kind of shifted the focus back onto Havoc and Psylocke. Yeah, especially Psylocke. Even though she wasn't directly involved, but her kind of getting control of Wild Child and then kind of coming to grips with being the leader of this team.
Yeah, it's interesting because basically, if you haven't read this comic, everybody is in dire straits.
Yeah,
Havoc is under the power of Madeline Pryor. He's trying to show her that he loves her. He's ripping his mouth off and stuff. John Greycrow is suspended upside down. He's about to get eaten. Orphan Maker he's on the ground. He's been punctured. You got Nanny's there rolling it around, like an egg. And the only person that has a chance of saving him, because they already offed
Empath.
Who's the Empath on the last issue. The only one that can save him is Psylocke and Wildchild. And Wildchild's losing his mind because, he's been put in that state of mind like an animal to where he's just attacking everything. She has to gain control of him. So it was really important because if she can't do that, no one can save him because Madeline Pryor is absolutely in control.
And the thing is, Wildchild being who he is and kind of what his character is, he needs an alpha or else he will try to be the alpha. The whole dynamic with Psylocke trying to establish kind of pack dominance over Wildchild was probably the most interesting thing because she realized she can't use her usual tools to do it. Like she can't use any of her powers. She just needs to straight up ninja kick his ass.
Yeah, because she takes his mind from him and he just goes all to baser instincts and he's even more wild.
Yeah, and you're she takes out all of his higher brain functions, and then she realizes, oh crap, the only thing left
more dangerous
is actually more dangerous. Yes, this is the thing I was trying to shut off, and I shut off the wrong thing. And she had to straight up basically kill Wildchild. I mean, just break his neck, but he's another mutant with a healing ability, so all she had to do was wait for him to heal up. But at that point, it kind of resets him, and he realizes again that Psylocke is absolutely the boss.
So it's crazy. In issue number 2 at the end, the team's pretty screwed. But it feels like John Greycrow and Psylocke are going to be able to save the day. And this one, the whole team is screwed. It's even worse. They're about to get eaten, and you don't even know what Madeline Pryor is going to do to Alex next. But finally, Psylocke kind of gains control, and by the end, it's ready for that final chapter that hopefully she'll be able to take down Madeline Pryor. And because she has a plan. She's going to bring all these insane dead corpse mutants to Krakoa because she feels slighted because they don't want her.
Yeah, and because they act like she doesn't exist. They didn't even try to bring her back. She talks about being essentially forgotten. She feels like she's always been the forgotten one because she's basically the most cheated upon woman in X-Men history. Yeah, I can understand that.
There's definitely some good callbacks to X-Men history. You can see where motivations are. Definitely talks about Alex and Scott's relationship with her.
Yeah,
and how they were in the pecking order. You can see why he's getting treated like that.
Honestly, if you haven't read, if you're not reading Hellions and you are reading some of the other X books, absolutely start reading Hellions. It's easily, it's only been 3 issues so far, but it's easily the best 3 issues straight on any book done so far. There has not been a single miss, in my opinion. I mean, we were a little skeptical after the first issue with, this team. Like, who in the hell thinks that this is a good idea? But I'm really loving how it's turning out.
Yeah, it's pretty darn good. Definitely, that's a highly recommend. Now, moving on to the final comic we're going to talk about. This one is over after 2 issues. It was a tie-in to Iron Man 2020. Just a god-awful event. If you don't want to hear the details, but if you do want to hear the details, Perch and I just talked about it on the channel a couple of days ago. It's Larry Hama, so the writing is fine. I remember reading the first issue of iWolverine, and it was a fun story, and the art was okay. And in this one, we got a fun story, and it's the same artist. It's Roland Boshi, but the art goes to absolute hell. It's one of the worst illustrated comics I've seen in a very long time. I was shocked. Yeah,
I don't know if the guy is still experimenting with his style, if he's still new and just
rushed. There's no details that make sense.
If he's just slow and not able to hit a deadline yet or something. I don't know what his deal is, but the art on this one is a significant downgrade from the first issue. The story is a little bit of a downgrade, but it's still pretty good. I kind of love
just the 2 of them mowing themselves through Madripoor trying to get to the airport. And get out of there.
Basically run the gauntlet of organized crime organizations that headquarter themselves in Madripoor.
Yeah, because Albert pissed everybody off going for Elsie while he was in there. Now they're all trying to get him before he gets out. It's cool.
Exactly.
It's just an action story.
Yeah, it's a great, simple action story. And while this is technically a tie-in to Iron Man 2020, it literally has nothing to do with Iron Man 2020. The first issue in the first page said that this is going to have nothing to do with Iron Man 2020. Honestly, I think this is a book that, especially during the shutdown, they probably should have sent pages back to Roland Boshi and would have been like, dude, can you do these, I don't know, better or good? Because I really don't mean to crap on the guy, but the art was just bad. It really
very bad.
Yeah. And
it's weird. Like I said, it's a complete downgrade from the first issue. The first issue, it wasn't great, but it was fine. It's the same artist, and then this one is, you're like, wow, this is rough.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big knock on this book. That the art was so bad. I saw a couple of people that weren't exactly super impressed with the first issue's art, and I understood that because it's not a style that's for everybody. But this one, even my tolerance for different styles kind of went out the window. There was a lot of stuff in it that I was just like, what even am I looking at? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah. If you like action comics, you'll probably enjoy this. But if you need art to go with it, it's hard to recommend this comic for me. It's too bad. Do you think we're going to see Albert and LCD in the Marvel universe after this, or do you think this was just for this story?
I got a sneaking suspicion, unless they're going to use the characters in the solo Wolverine book, which I don't see. That doesn't seem to be a direction that they're going, that I doubt we'll see them anytime soon, except for maybe they might pop up here and there, but I don't think they're going to show up even for like a story arc anywhere.
Yeah, it was fun. It's too bad the art sucked. All right, Doc, well, that kind of wraps up this week at X-Men number 11, tie into Empyre. Please just stop doing it. Like, not everything has to tie in together. Although we'll say this, Jonathan Hickman clearly has a better grasp of what Empyre could have been if you'd taken the event seriously. But this is definitely a showcase for Magneto, and also a reminder that the culture on Krakoa is changing. They don't trust humans, and they do have bigger plans building in the future. Hellions number 3 is pretty gnarly. It's almost borderline gross, some of the art in there, but I enjoyed it a lot. Madeline Pryor is playing the Hellions like a fiddle, they say, but Psylocke is still out there with Wild Child. They're the last hope. Otherwise, these guys are all going to get eaten. And iWolverine, fun comic, enjoyable tale. Larry Hama back on X-Men, nice to see, but the art just was lacking.
Yeah, the art was lacking. I agree completely. I mean, we actually had, it was a pretty good week in X-Men.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was enjoyable. We didn't read X Factor, but that's probably smart.
Probably, I think anyone with 2 firing neurons and any sort of self-esteem won't read anything that's X-Men written by Leah Williams.
It's not worth it, man. Not worth it.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.